Cool. Okay. Perfect. I just have some notes that I took down here this morning for just. Can everybody hear me okay? Let me make sure my audio is good before I start
Yeah.
talking and then nothing happens.
Yep.
Yep, yep.
Yes.
Okay. And let me know if you don't. So, just took some notes this morning of just things that I've noticed with deployments and things that people come up. They say, "Oh, it doesn't do this. Oh, it doesn't do that." And usually, I find that it's prompting and things like that. So I figured, why not just kind of go through this? I will send this PDF out to everyone afterwards. And again, if you're kind of into this thing and this is a little bit too complex, I guess this is more for the other people. So we'll kind of go through everything that you need to know to kind of get started, and then of course you can always expand on it later. So just a couple bits of terminology because I tend to use this a lot, and don't know if everyone understands a lot of what I'm saying. So when I say LLM, I'm talking about the AI itself. So like when I say OpenAI or anything like that, that's referenced as an LLM. That just kind of fits of like what it actually is. It's the type of AI, like a program of AI that can recognize and generate text. That's so when I say LLM, I'm talking about OpenAI. I'm talking about Claude. I'm talking about those. Prompting, things like when it comes to prompt, these are the instructions, the instruction set, the commands that you give the AI for it to like actually do things or decision make or output. Um, I'll get into the hierarchy of like conversation, who you should reference and how you should reference. This is also something I don't see. Not only like in most AI tools, most people don't reference it like this, but there's actually like hierarchy to the conversation. There's hard coded names for who is what and what is who. So you will see these referenced as assistant, user, and then there will be some tasking that's done with that. And then vector store. So the vector store are the databases that we move to for the assistant. And just when you hear vector store, the kind of technical but not so technical way to think about it is we're just taking files, we're taking images, we're taking complex data sets and taking them from what would not be a numerical representation of that, which is how AI actually works, a tokenization model. We're just tokenizing those things to embed it in the LLM. So is that kind of clear? Make a lot of sense? No noises? Cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There are some tactics to use. And again, like as you go through voice, because voice is going to be a little bit prompt heavy and everything else, there's some tactics that you can use to make sure that the assistant, that the bot, whatever program you're using, again, this is not exclusive to our stuff. This is anything with AI that is doing exactly what you tell it to, and it's doing it reliably. So, for example, when you're prompting the voice assistant, when you're going out and doing things with any LLM, ChatGPT, whatever, you always want to tell it to adopt a persona. So these things are very good at assuming a persona, which is how now when you give it a name and everything, that's what we do on the back end. They're very good at adopting who they are, their identity. They don't have one, so they're always looking for one. So it's always good whenever you're using an AI product to give it a persona, and that can be denoted by a literal hashtag persona or identity. But it's always good for it to assume that because that's where it forms its personality from. That's where it forms most of its generation and the way it generates things. It's always good to kind of lay out a way that you can give it a persona. Again, something like you are Haley, a sales assistant calling contact first name. You work for this company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have to get too advanced with this, but a persona is an amazing way that you'll find that your AI tends to work better because it can finally have an identity as it talks to somebody. Also, when you're prompting, use delimiters to like clearly indicate what you're doing. So that's the hashtag that you see, or the list format of 123, or the dashes that you see on some of the conditional logic. These these LLMs are, I mean, all they are at the end of the day is just giant index matching word puzzles. That's all they are. So if you have this crazy prompt where you just go in and you're just giving it all this stuff, it's not going to be good because it just has no clue what's going on. It has no cadence of what's going on. It has no hierarchy of what's going on. So it's just going to take it all at face value, and that's how it's going to work. So anytime you're prompting, whether it's voice, chat, whatever, always try to use delimiters to tell the assistant, hey, we're at a new spot. This is something you can reference. This is something you can come back to, and you know the task that's in this delimiter That's something you need to focus on right now. Along with that too is steps, and you see that in prompts like example here. So I have my task, and technically we do a delimiter right here for you. We have our task, but we're telling it basically the cadence of how we want to do it. This is a really good way because you want to specify the steps of it. Because if you just tell it task, go qualify lead, and you just leave it like that, so broad, it's just kind of going to go all over the place. Again, this is where hallucination comes from, because you haven't given it a clear path, and it's always looking for a path. It will create one of its own. So if you really want to bring your AI in, again, not only this platform, but any AI that you work with, always try to make sure to give it predefined steps of exactly what you want it to do, and make sure you tell it exactly how to do it in those steps. Um, the other thing is I don't see this a lot, and again, it's just some people don't know this. 4 and 6 kind of go together. You need to talk to the AI, because that's when you're prompting it, that's what you're doing. You need to talk to it in first person, like you're telling an employee what to do. And also, you need to speak to it in isolation, meaning that the LLM or the AI doesn't know that there is more than one person in the world. It just knows who it's talking to. It has no like theoretical idea of what contacts are or users are. It just knows user. It just knows the person I'm talking to. And now we run multiple contacts through that, but you have to think at an isolated level that it just knows that one person it's talking to, and that's all it ever knows. So when you prompt, you want to talk to it in first person when you're telling it what to do, just as you're talking to an employee. And you want to make sure to reference the person that it's talking to in isolation. So you don't want to say, qualify my contacts, because it just has no conception of what that is. It's qualify the user. Because in that specific scenario of when it's talking to someone, all it knows in the world is that user. Does that make sense?
Very much.
Yes. Yes.
Um, that's something I don't see a lot. And you can kind of even notice it in prompts like this, where I'm talking to it in first person. I'm not saying do an introduction, do things like that. I'm saying, like I'd talk to someone on this call, I'd say, go ahead and introduce yourself and do this. And then again, like from the aspect of referencing the user, I'm saying, okay, inform the user, because that's all it knows. You'll notice that your outputs are going to be substantially better in that way, because that's how it processes information. That's the hierarchy of what it knows. That's all it knows. And all these kind of go together, and I'll kind of show you this. Here's kind of a diagram of what I was talking about. So you, as the prompter, the tasker, me telling the assistant, the AI, what to do, it only knows the user. That's all it knows, is I'm talking to user and user is talking to assistant. By the way, user is the correct term for the person that it's speaking with, because they are the user of the LLM, and then they are assistant. So whether it's, again, not even isolated to our model where we reference them as assistants, but any chatbot, anything like that, it knows itself as assistant. So this is just kind of showing the hierarchy of the conversation and what it knows in isolation. This is what all this is talking about. So it's not when I'm talking to the assistant, I talk to it in first person, because I'm just telling it what to do. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to go talk to user, and user's going to talk to me. That's how it knows things. And so you'll find when you prompt in isolation to the fact of referencing just user instead of like contacts or qualify my leads, it doesn't know what that is. It just knows user. That's what it knows. Does that make sense too? I tried my best. Excuse my
Yeah,
drawings. I'm like a
yes.
3-year-old, but this was at like 2 a.m. I was like, how do I show this? And I figured a drawing may be helpful.
Can you give a couple of sentences using that formula?
Yeah. So in the first person, I'm talking to this thing in first person, I'm referencing who would be the contact as user. Again, in isolation, I'm not saying qualify users. I'm saying, for example, your task is to ask the user for a range of availability for scheduling an appointment. So I'm talking to it in first person here, and I'm telling it in isolation, right? I'm not saying ask all the users or ask my leads for a range of availability, because it would be like, well, who the hell is a lead? I don't know who the hell that is. I just know I'm talking to the user. So when you prompt and you're telling it to do things here, you say ask the user, inform the user, tell the user. Is that a good kind of example of that?
Yes, that
Yes,
makes a
thank
lot of
you.
sense.
Perfect.
Yep.
And so that's where our verbiage becomes, again, like ask the user this, inform the user of that. And you'll notice even from that change alone, I guarantee you, if you didn't change anything else about your prompt, but you started prompting in isolation and knowing the hierarchy of prompting and like the roles of who's interacting here, you'll find that your prompt is much more clean, and that it'll understand the cadence a little better as far as who it's talking to and how it's getting in its instructions. Because also, if you're just saying here, right, or anywhere, right, qualify my leads, it's like, well, who's doing that? I don't know who's qualifying them, and who's leads. I don't know who that is. But if you're like, ask the lead or inform the lead of this, or sorry, inform the user of this, or ask the user this, you'll find that it tends to stick very, very well to what you've asked it to do because of this hierarchy. So I hope that makes sense. But if you try that, and again, just prompt in isolation, don't say leads, don't say context, say user, I bet you'll find that your stuff works a lot better. And then the same thing here, right? The things to note is we talk to the assistant in first person because that's to it we're its creator, we're its tasker. We are the person, basically the boss of it. So it knows to take instruction from us. So when you talk to it in first person. It understands things a lot better. That's how these things are built. That's how LLMs are built. They're built to take instruction. So when you talk to it in first person. And conceptually, the AI doesn't know users. It doesn't know anyone else in the whole world but the user of the conversation, which would be the contact. So when you say, ask the user this, instead of saying ask the users, because it's like, I don't know who users are. I didn't know there was more than one. You just say ask the user, because again, it thinks in isolation to like conversations themselves. Does that make a ton of sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, it does, man.
Thank you.
Now, this is going to be a little bit more relevant for voice and maybe any outside, prompting that you're doing. And you can get real fancy with this. I mean, there's a ton of shit that you can do. I mean, sometimes it's too much, but you can get pretty fancy with this. But I'll tell you this. You don't need to do more than 2 hashtags. And everybody's like, what does the 2 hashtags mean? This is just like raw text formatting of header 2. So we're just saying this is a new spot. Like we're doing a new, like how you would a paper or how, most a blog post or header text. That's the way it sees it. So when you put hashtag, the way it views text at that point is that is a header. You're telling me to do something, and I'm going to follow what they do down there. So when you go through and you do these things, you want to break things off in sections, aka goals, aka steps. That's why this is here, and that's why it tends to work pretty well. Is when you break things up for an AI, because again, a lot of people, they get in there and they prompt this thing like crazy. Sometimes I've seen prompts of like, 7 paragraphs of stuff, and you really don't need that. Make sure to break these things down and be very, very concise and direct with the things that you're talking about. So when you're writing these prompts, super, super important that you break it down into smaller sections for it to understand. These things can take in a lot of information, and yes, they may seem all powerful, but they're actually really dumb. So the better you could break it down for these things, the better it'll process those commands, those instructions, those suggestions for outputs, things like that. It's just going to generate a lot better. And kind of the focus or benefit from the like LLM standpoint is that this is also reusable and re-referenceable. So it knows identity is this. So if I go back later in a task and I'm like, go back, look back at your identity, it's almost like having a variable. So it's referenceable, it's easy to maintain because it's broken down. So if you have something where you're talking with a voice assistant, or again, any outside where prompting is essential, and you notice that it's not adopting a persona well enough, or the output generation isn't where it needs to be, you know where to reference that. That's going to be in the style guidelines or in the response guidelines, something like that. And most importantly, it's just so much easier for this thing to understand. That's how it's built. It's built to understand things, if that makes a ton of sense. Cool?
Cool.
Easy enough. Okay. Is this helpful, or is this even more confusing?
No,
No,
very helpful.
Cool.
Okay. I feel like this one needs to get hit on. So, before I get into here, this wasn't in the terminology, but when I say function, when I say tool, when I say things like that, these are, for example, like the voice assistant. This is tools right here, the functions. And then if you go into chat, that is the tools you see here. When I reference these things, these are actual functions that are built on the back end. Now, any AI system in the whole world, all of them, every single one of them, is just a language model. It's just supposed to talk back and forth. That's all it knows. But functions are what gets this thing to actually do stuff. Like this is its connection to the outside world. From the isolated conversation to booking an appointment, or from the isolated conversation to going to high level and picking something up and coming back. That's what, when I say functions and tools, I want you to think of its way to interact with the outside world. So we do a lot of that stuff for you. As far as even when it comes to voice, you have these functions that are in here, and yes, custom functions will be there pretty soon so that you can build them on your own. We're not even going to get into that. We build all these functions for you. All these things that you see for the assistants, all this stuff that they can do are functions that I have built for you. So you don't have to build them, but I'll tell you this. I've seen situations where, maybe someone says, something's not doing this, or it's not, leaving a note, or it's not doing this. If you reference the function specifically, because that's what it knows, it can see the function. It just perhaps in that moment doesn't know exactly what to do. If you reference the function specifically inside your task, you'll notice that it performs with 100% accuracy every time.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, so I'm doing qualifying, and I'm one of those people where I collect data on everything I do. So when I ask someone about their sub account, I'm storing that in a custom value. Or I ask someone how much revenue they're doing, I'm storing that in a custom value. That's everything down my task list, right? My qualifying task list. If I go in there and I say, for example, if I'm like, ask the user how many sub accounts they have. And then maybe in actions, I have the action, right? I'm telling it like, hey, you can fill the value here. Yes, that works, most of the time. But if you go here and you say, ask the user how many sub accounts they have, and with that answer, call the function, enroll in workflow or fill custom value to fill in the information I've given you for the relevant action. So you're like directly telling it like, hey, like I know you kind of know what this thing does, and you seem to get it sometimes, but I'm telling you directly in your instruction set. If I want to fill a custom value, or if I want to enroll in a workflow, I'm telling it to directly enroll in that workflow itself. I'm saying call your function, enroll in workflow, to enroll them in that workflow. Does that make a ton of sense, or is that just as confusing?
Nope, that's good. You're clarifying a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Now, Jordan, workflow does not mean go high level, right? That means in the LLM's workflow.
In this specific example, yes, this does mean go high level, because we can enroll in workflows. So I have a function for you to enroll in workflows, and I will get you. This is part of that whole, all this, getting you all of these resources here. You'll have a list of what they're actually called, because these are not called calendar management. This is 5 functions in one. This isn't just one. This is 5 functions in one, and they all have specific names. It can see the name. And if you call it by name, it makes it so much easier for that thing to process. But when I say enroll in workflow, that's the literal name of the function for enrolling someone in a workflow. And I will say too, before someone goes out and they say, "Oh, it's not working," it did it. You have to have it on, because this is what adds it to the LLM. If you don't have it on, it can't see it. It can't do it. When you click these things, again, I've tried to make it super easy to do stuff like these more technical things. When you do it, we're actually adding a function, a big piece of code into the assistant to connect with the outside world, all pre-built for you, and that's how you reference it. So if you reference it, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, while you're on that, will you give examples, or is the document you're going to send out give examples on some of these and what they actually are doing? I know it says on here some of the information, but I know that's like bits and pieces of what it's actually like. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if there's anything on that.
Yeah, I'll have that. That'll be in the cheat sheet, but I'll probably send some around for it.
Okay, sweet.
Especially because the names aren't, like I said, they're not calendar management. They're not create tasks. They're not self-schedule. They have a little bit longer name, and they're also delimited by underscores.
Well, that one I can see. I don't know if anybody else gets confused with, but like that could be confused as follow-up very easily.
This?
No, the self scheduling, I guess you called it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was curious.
Okay. You want me to
Just-
run through them right now? You want me to run through?
If you
exactly
got
what
us,
all
yeah,
these-
I mean, I don't want to
Okay.
delay what you're doing.
Yes,
So
go through them. Yes.
Okay. Calendar management is actually a makeup of 5 different functions. So if you open here, you can kind of see them. So these are 5 separate pieces, giant pieces of code that allow it to go do things specifically inside high level. So these pieces of code have been written for your assistant to connect to your high level and do some sort of thing. And again, I'll get the official names for you so that you can reference them in the prompt. Most of these things are done the way I've coded them have been autonomous. Example, like calendar management. You don't have to tell it to like call book calendar to, or book appointment to book appointment. Like it just kind of knows like when I book appointment, I know I can book it there. But it is helpful in some of these other things like, like creating a note or enrolling in workflow or adding and removing tags. Because even though action kind of does that, it's not specifically referenced in its task. So there's a disconnect there. But the way this one works, so there's 5 functions inside this one thing. There is get appointment times, and the actual delimiter for that is get underscore available underscore time underscore slots. I've referenced that in the voice one, by the way. And then this one is booking the actual booking of the appointment. So this one goes out to high level to your calendar that you've connected to your assistant, whether it's voice or whether it's chat. And this function is basically a piece of code that tells the assistant that they can go inside your high level to the calendar that you specified and look inside the calendar for availability, grab that availability, and then come back, which is why some people ask about latency. That's what it does. It's a giant piece of code of it actually going inside your high level and doing things.
What does the underscore represent?
There's no spacing in coding, so you'll even notice, like, I've been even pretty transparent with the voice because I think it's time we all grow up and start building big girl LLMs. But even in the state names, they don't do spaces. Like when you set a variable in code, you don't do spaces. You delimitate it either with a dash or an underscore, and that represents a space
Gotcha.
in coding terms.
Thank you.
Quick question, like, can we have a prompt like for booking the appointment? Step 1, go into high level calendar and check to see the soonest available spot, and check that spot, and then ask the user if they can available to come in that time. Can we be able to do that?
100%, and I have one for you right here. I'll drop it.
Awesome.
Because that was the one I was going to throw in yours this morning, but you know how stuff happens. So here's a good one. Now, if you're using this for chat, I would just use this bottom part down here. And let me change this verbiage up for you right here. So this is not the complete one. I'll send the complete one, and I'll change the actual one. So it's get available time slots. Oh, I ran out of room. Get available time slots. That's the first part of that. And then here's the back half of it. And so just with this instruction set, you don't have to get too crazy with it. You're just telling it, I'm talking to the assistant itself, and I'm saying, go ahead and ask that user for a range of their availability. You're going to do that first, just to kind of set the tone of we're about to book an appointment. And then the next step is once the assistant has done that, it's like, okay, I've done step 1, I'm moving to step 2. And then you'll tell it to call the function get available time slots to check for availability in the provided time range. And I've set some conditionals here, and again, we'll get into conditionals later, but I've set some conditional. I said, if we're able to get these, inform the user of the options and ask them to select from them. And I do a lot of prompt injection too, so there's also prompt injection that comes with functions too, and I do a lot of that to make sure that, the most recent times and everything. And by the way, which I need to do with yours is if you clean this thing up, you'll notice that it does it, just without much. You don't need to do more than this right here. This thing does it flawlessly, except for Australia, Ricky. It does it flawlessly, any use case, and it knows from the prompt injection I've done on the back, it will pull the 2 most recent, or sometimes that are the most recent, and it knows to give them 2 so it doesn't overwhelm the user, is what it's told. But there's some conditionals here too to even handle for stuff if you don't have your calendar booked. And also, you'll notice again, simplify your prompt. There's some prompt injection I have where if you don't have your calendar in there, it will actually come back and There's prompt injection to tell it to create a note for you, create a task for you to let you know that a calendar is not booked, so you could go in and do the calendar. I've tried to make it super easy. So the assistant is actually told from me to you in the back end to go connect a calendar and how to do it, and then it'll self-schedule itself to try again in 30 minutes. And it'll tell the user in that situation, oh, I can't see the calendar. I'm going to meet with my team to get the availability, and I'll get back to you in 15 or 30 minutes or whatever they say. So that's all been done on the back end for you. Again, part of the whole code snippet. But that's what this does, is we're just setting a cadence of what it should do, how it should handle situations in that. And then, again, confirm the selected date. Ask them this before you book it. So this may be really good for yours, Jocelyn, too, on those 2 questions you want to ask beforehand.
Yeah.
Where you just want to tell it to do that. You have to use workflows to do it, where you can say, send this message, or tell the user this, inform the user of this, or ask the user this, and then once they've done that, once confirmed, call the function book appointment to secure the appointment.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. Oh my
and then
gosh. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I figured that'd be super helpful. This should fix everything for you. I mean, this should take your stuff to the next level. And I even have situationing here. You'll notice, like, even in the cadence of what we were talking about before, I have the task. And again, you don't have to delimitate it. It's been delimited for you with the hashtag. You don't have to do that. Just throw in task, give it a list of things you want it to do. But if there is something that you need a condition of, if there's something that there's an if else, right? You want it to situation handle for a answer from a qualifying question. For example, a business doesn't do the revenue metric you're looking for, and you want it to do something if it does or doesn't. That's what these are for. And you can delimitate these, by the way, with just, I do 3 spaces and a dash, or you can do 2 dashes. So it can either be space, 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 dash, and that's how you would build the list, space, 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 dash, and those are my conditions. Or you can do dash, dash, and dash, dash. And those act as conditionals for the step that it's on. And so what this is just saying, for example, like even if you look at the booked appointment one here, it says once it's confirmed that time, we've went back and, I've asked it to just to confirm the time. Once you've confirmed it, call the function book appointment to secure the appointment. Now, if the booking details confirm the appointment, inform the user and proceed. So basically saying if this was actually booked, tell them it was booked and move on. But if it wasn't booked for whatever reason, inform the user that you're having troubles, and then restart from step 1, which it'll try these things again. So that's how that kind of works. And that's the cadence of the kind of tying everything together. I think the only thing we didn't go over is conditionals, but we can go over them later. But I promise you, you put this thing in, you clean it up. And again, you really don't even have to clean this thing up too much. Almost keep it exactly how it is. You'll find that your booking is bulletproof. Bulletproof. I've never had mine break. Never had mine break ever, not once. And the verbiage is amazing because it has the freedom to ask the things it needs to.
Yeah. And quick question, like can you go over again the like space, 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 dash, space, the space, dash?
It's basically it's kind of a sanity check, but you'll notice how I kind of have it just spaced out. And again, it's just telling it like this is a subset of this. Now you could just, you could do 5 and not have the space. It would probably understand it as well, no, but you can double dash it. But for just best practice, I always do. For example, I'm at 5 and I need a conditional. I go there, space, 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 dash. There's my conditional of 5. And the same thing, if I need another one for 4, I'll do space, or I'll do enter, space, 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 dash. If this, then that. And again, while we do this, we want the verbiage to be just like this. We want to tell the assistant in first person what to do to the user, which is who it knows as the contact. So if the user does not make $2 million per year, then inform the user we cannot work with you. And that's how you would kind of use that verbiage in these things. But yes, and again, you don't have to do that. It's just best practice. Haven't seen it break yet, so I continue to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And I'll send this out too, so you can see all of this. I even have, I don't know if I copied this one over, but I have some stuff that I'll have on all of this. Yeah, here you go. Write task a step. Whenever you're doing a run, so a run, by the way, we won't get into it. Whenever you're doing a task, you give it what you need it to do. You tell it to follow a procedure. You give it concise, isolated verbiage, and then you could set subtasks as conditional. So steps within the step with dashes or double dashes. I tend to do 3 spaces and a dash. But you can do whatever you want. It's a free world. I can't stop you. Okay. Let's see what else we got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quick request. When you send out this video, are you able to send out the I guess the links and the verbiage that's in the chat? I'm just driving on my phone, so I won't be able to pull that data.
No, I'm not gonna send that. No, I'm just messing with you. I'll send all that over, man. I'll
Thanks,
send it
bro.
all over. I'll send this document, this PDF. I'll send this PDF. I'll send you a link to the Notion page, and I will send this video in YouTube format or something of the sort. Function.
Jordan, I have a question. I store my prompts in Notion, for example, if it's longer prompts, and then I put at the very beginning of each prompt like a version number, like V1, V2, V3, and then I insert them, into this into high level, for example. Or does it hurt if the first characters are like V5.2?
I don't think it hurts. Hurts may not be the right word, but it may not be optimal. It may not be optimal. Because I'll even tell you, like, it's not out of the blue to prompt like that, or it's not out of the ordinary. In fact, I've seen other companies encourage and other people prompt, and I can't say I haven't done it in the past, of things with, like, for example, asterisks as bolding for specific characters, or doing different types of headings. So heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. But I'll just tell you here again, keep it simple. The old verbiage, kiss it. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't confuse the LLM and any crazy stuff. You don't have to. This thing's, even though it's not all-knowing, it's not anything like that. You keep it real simple for the thing, and I promise you'll find that your outputs are following the cadence that you need. And I wouldn't use more than the double hashtag. I wouldn't do more than tasking it 1, 2, 3, 4 and some subtasks. But all that to say, it won't hurt you. Is it optimal? I'm not quite sure, but it should be fine. It's not going to hurt you.
Okay.
Does that help? Is this helpful? I'm hoping this is helpful.
Yes, a lot.
Very helpful.
Very helpful.
Yeah, it is, man.
Yes.
Back to functions, because I know that's where we were. So calendar is a amalgamation of 5 functions. So you have get appointment times, which goes to your high level calendar, gets the times. You have book appointment, which books the appointment. You have reschedule the appointment, which takes the ID from the appointment that's been booked or the most recent appointment and reschedules it. Cancel is the same thing. It calls to high level, cancels your appointment with the ID of the most recent one that's in the conversation of the AI, and then get current appointments. I think this is eliminated by get _ contact _ appointments or something like that. And I'll send all this out. But these
Hey,
are
Jordan,
the 5. Yeah, go ahead.
is there any function where if someone misses an appointment, it can recognize and re-follow up, put them back in the queue?
Specifically, no, that may be a workflow thing, but because it can get current appointments, it can see the status of those appointments. So it can see if something's been canceled or not. And you can go into the prompt and say, hey, if the most recent appointment that we scheduled with this person, or like even in this example, the exact prompt I was used is task step 1, call the function get _ contacts _ appointments, and analyze if the most recent appointment has been canceled or confirmed, and then enter space dash. If the user's most recent appointment is confirmed, then do something else. If, again, enter space dash. If the user's most current appointment is canceled, then do this. Is that helpful?
Yeah, so if they don't show, we can manually just cancel the appointment ourselves if it's a no-show, and then that should prompt with those prompts to put it back into the queue.
Kind of. There's a little bit of workflow mix in there too, just because it's native and why not. But yeah, I mean, the cadence still follows. But pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that's calendar management. 5 functions in one. Boy, that was fun to code, let me tell you. And making those things work in tandem, it was a whole nother thing. The same thing here, create task. It just has one function in here, which is create _ task, I think. I'll get all the proper names. And it just tells the assistant if there's actionable items in the conversation, or for the autonomous side of it, or if someone tells you to call function create task, then create a task in the CRM and generate, what would be the action item, whether you've been told it or you come up with it yourself. That's create task as one function inside. Create notes is of the same nature. Now they are told autonomously to only do important information. When it comes to creating notes or creating tasks, they're told autonomously, create a task if there's actionable follow-up items that you cannot handle yourself in the actual conversation itself, so that you can communicate with an outside team member. So it knows this is its way to communicate with you, even though it can't inside here. This is how it talks with you sometimes if it needs to. And the same thing with notes is it's told if there is actionable or important information for the rest of the team to know. Example, Timmy has a peanut allergy and he's going to the peanut butter jelly bar. Make that a note, because that would suck if not. That's what it's told in those two. Now, self-schedule, because there's, I guess, gray area with the idea of understanding this one. So this one is told this is a function for it to call itself, which is it's redundancy, but to basically visualize it, is it's told if there's a situation, anything in the conversation that requires you to reach back out. Example, calendar's not connected. Your calendar is broken. You forgot to update it, and you deleted V1 calendar, and now you have a V2, and you never reconnected the other one, so it can't see it. Someone says, I'm driving, text me in 15 minutes. Or, hey man, I'm going to sleep, text me tomorrow. Or, I'm busy, can you just give me a text later? Those are actionable follow-up items that it can make proactively, and that's what it calls when it does this. Is basically what it's doing in the piece of code is it's saying, they've told me at some point in the future, or I have analyzed the conversation, and I think some point in the future, I'm going to have to reach back out to these people. And so what it's going to do is it's basically going to, on our API stack, call us to say, bring this appointment or bring this assistant back in at a set amount of time, and it sets the time itself. So if you say 15 minutes, this thing, I shit you not, will put 15 minutes, and we get 15 minutes, and we schedule it 15 minutes later. And if it's the next day or whatever, it'll tell us, hey, they told me the next day, so I'm going to do 18 hours. It sends it to us. I shit you not, take the 18 hours and schedule it 18 hours later. So that's what this is. This is actionable follow-up, items, proactive follow-up items. Because you got to remember in the cadence of sales too, follow-up isn't a proactive thing. It's a reactive thing. You don't plan to follow up with somebody specifically. You reactively do it when someone ghosts you. But this one specifically is for active follow-up items, if that makes sense. Does that terminology make sense? That differentiation?
Hey, Jordan, just a quick question. So these that you're going over right now, are these something that we would be prompting for it to do, or is it doing it on its own?
So pretty much everything from here to here can be referenced by you, but it's done autonomously.
Okay.
So
all right, cool.
Everything here has been coded to either be referenced by you, and again, from a reliability standpoint, this prompt, you even notice I reference it in this prompt.
Yeah, I saw that mine as well.
Yeah, I reference get available time slots and I reference book appointment. Do I have to? No. It knows what those things do.
So in conversation, the contextual conversation it's having, if something was coming through that I, being the business, should know it, it would automatically make a note. Kind of thing is what you're saying? Okay, all right.
And if it's talking with someone, it's hey, tell Johnny that that he should check my subscription next time I talk to him. It'll say, okay, let me make a note because Johnny probably needs to know that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, so they're more reactive, actionable items autonomously. And again, they're self-referencing. You can reference these, and if you want it to send an email at a certain step, it'll do it. So if you say step 3, ask the user, I don't know how many times they went out to dinner last week, and then send an email, a call function send_email with an analysis of how they could be eating better. If you're doing gyms or something like that.
Yeah, I noticed them on when you did my other one, which by the way, someone just messaged. Stuart was playing with the bot just a minute ago. It's kind of cool. I know she had them all on, but I also noticed in that prompt that you had on the calendar, the one you went over the calendar, I noticed you had some of these things in there. So that's why because all that at the bottom I'm still learning how to use, but it makes sense. So the conversation could go in the direction where the assistant could say, hey, I need to do one of whatever, how it's in the conversation. But I just think it's really cool about the email. I never thought about that with email.
Yeah.
So
No,
could you
this is
go
why I
ahead.
wanted to have these calls. I feel like there's so much potential that may be missed out on. Or again, it's like I'm only one
It's
person.
technical. Yeah, no,
I
it's
try my best to inform and help and everything like that. So I figured if we do this once a week, and even if we have to refresh this once a week, you can do some pretty cool shit with this thing. I'll tell you that.
Oh, no, I can tell you now. There's way more things learning these little caveats is going to change the game between you and the next crazy bot that somebody has, because these are the functions that they don't. I can tell you from experience, they don't do none of this stuff.
Yeah.
You can try to do some of it. It works when it wants to, but I'm really interested in that emailing stuff, because a lot of the times, what I found, I have a bot right now that lets the person know that the bot is actually active and talking to somebody, and it's not even the prompt, really. It's just a workflow. But it's just interesting. But they love it, like because they get to name their bot. They name it Susie or whatever. Oh, Susie's talking to somebody, and they go crazy over it. I just think it's cool that you can have these little caveats. So thanks, man. Thanks for going in depth with this. This helped a lot.
Yeah, I was hoping so. And again, we'll do this once a week, and it will be on the YouTube for you to reference. And this will all be in this resource portal that I'm trying to build out with a little bit of time I get every day. So you will have all this in writing. You will have all this with me once a week, and then you will have this on YouTube. And I'm going to start pointing you there. If you say, can we get on a call? I'll say, nope, and here's a video.
Okay, so you're going to upload this to YouTube?
Yep.
Good. Awesome.
Sure.
Okay. I missed most of it. Busy as crap right now. All right. Thank you.
That's awesome. I was wondering, when you send out the prompts and stuff like that, would you mind just including the functions, like get _ appointment? Because I can see some of them here, but to get all of it, like the email calendar and all that,
I'll send them out.
I appreciate
I'll send them out after when this video goes live. I think I only have a few more calls today. I try to block off my calendar the best I could, so I can be very resourceful today. This video will go out. You'll have this video. I'm going to get you that PDF that I went over in the beginning, which also has a little dialogue from me as you go through your AI journey, because I'll tell you, it's getting pretty competitive as far as like the agency space. So it's a little note to self there for you guys on how to be competitive. And then I will send out some example prompts that I have in a document, as well as the functions to reference if you would like to do the more complicated stuff.
Jordan, what about the demo bot or self-selling AI? Is that in the pipeline, or is it already working?
Yeah, you could easily build one between the two things, but and I'm going to build one here for myself, and awesome enough, you'll get to watch me do it and see how I do it, see my psychology of it, because again, most of the stuff can be built by the user in 5 minutes in a pretty robust way. But I will have some stuff, like everything you're going to see, probably going forward, will be put in a just done for you snapshot eventually, probably over the weekend, depending on how much time I get.
Referencing, is that the Parrot bot? Is that what you're talking about, Jordan? The 2.0, whatever.
The cool Parrot bot that I keep referencing, that one probably won't come out for another week, because that one I tell you, I'm doing a lot of custom functions for that one that'll call to a specific gray labeled endpoint, techie stuff. So it'll do some cool shit that no AI you've probably ever seen can do. That one's going to take a little bit longer, but when it comes to building a self-selling bot, not super hard.
That's what I'm
But
excited
I think the challenge is, to scrape the user's website. Is that possible?
Through us, we have an endpoint for it, but are you just wanting to do a traditional scrape their website and then show it off?
Yeah, so that it pretends to be to work for the business owner's business, and ask business related questions, so qualification questions based on their.
Yes, I can have something like that. I'll expose our endpoint for you and tell you how to do it. I may even make it a custom action where you could just scrape if you want to, and we'll send something back. But I'm going to give you my honest opinion on that one. I think his name is Jason Wardrobe. Jason Wardrobe Roho. A lot of them do that, and they've been doing it for some time. So not that I think it's a bad idea, but as far as a competitive space, it may not be the most competitive way to show off AI capability to someone because they may have already done it 2 times in the past. But I will have endpoint. I'll have stuff for you to be able to build it super easy because I have all the endpoints to scrape to generate all that stuff, take screenshots of their website. I have all that. I have this giant repository of code that I just need to make accessible to everybody. You'll see that in custom workflow actions, but I think there's definitely some interesting ways to show off AI in a more tangible way that may be competitive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there are like millions of business owners out there who have not tried a self-selling AI, and they would be pretty impressed when a bot, knows, business-specific things about their business because it scraped the website and ask, business-related questions. I think lots of business owners would be very impressed. I think because it's so. I think it's essentially. If you're able to scrape the user's website and then create like 3 qualification criteria based on an assumption of their ideal customer audience, and then ask 3 questions, like for example, if it's a gym, if they live nearby a certain location or something like that, or if they have experience, based on the business website, to create like 3 qualification questions. And if the business owner experiences that, I think that's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, I can add some endpoints for it.
Jordan, wouldn't that be the same thing as the Parapet? Because that's kind of what it did before.
Yeah.
I don't remember scraping, but it would demo the business, the industry, whatever that they were in. It would ask a few qualifying questions, and it would say demo bot or demo over, and then it would go into selling your services as the agency. I mean, that's what the Parapet was. Is that similar to what the 2.0 is going to be?
No, 2.0 is going to be something a little bit crazier than that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a mixture of functions, and again, it's going to be gray labeled because I'm going to host it, and you can fill it with your logo and stuff. But it's going to be a suite of rather than just sales, because I think again, like sales is, you scroll through Facebook for 5 minutes, you get 1 million AI CRM, AI closer. So I think if we take it a little bit further than that.
Will voice be part of that or no? Okay, cool. All right. I'm just trying to get all of it in my head to understand. So like the iframe type thing where you could demo kind of the voice will be part of it. Okay, cool. That's awesome, man. Looking forward to that.
I love that. Make it crazy, Jordan. Make it crazy.
We're working on it.
And when do you think you will have something like that?
I don't know. I don't have a timeline. Yeah, I don't have a timeline because I'm going to show you like in 5 minutes how to do something pretty similar. But I can at least get you an endpoint to scrape because, like I said, I have all that native. I can get you an endpoint and a custom value where you just feed me a website and I'll feed you back some data and maybe even a screenshot if that's helpful. And that'll at least kind of get that cadence started.
That's
Fantastic.
awesome.
Hey, Jordan, just Ricky here. Just a quick one. So remember you were saying yesterday that you were going to have a quick form for user to fill and make it easy to create a bot.
Yeah.
So why don't we just have a front-end form which connects to the back-end values through custom values, and somebody fills that form up. As soon as the form's filled, the bot's created, and a web page pops up with a testing sort of environment where they can test that bot in that testing environment, and say after 3 minutes it's times out and say, hey, how was it, and transits it back into our current bot.
You're spot on to 2.0. I mean, I'll just tell you what I'm working on right now because again, I'm just testing it, the cadence of the conversation of everything. So, and by the way, that's what even in here, that's what all these endpoints will be. Endpoints to go ahead and create assistants, messages, calling, everything, from whatever system you want, high level, HubSpot, who cares? It'll kind of be everywhere. That's what these endpoints will allow you to do. Again, if you want to get pretty fancy and even use some of our internal things like reformatting and multi-sending breakups and things like that, we'll have all that as endpoints. So if someone wants to get really into it themselves, there you go. But yeah, so ParrotBot 2.0 will probably not be called ParrotBot. I'm going to probably come up with a different name. And the idea is just to, they fill out a form, it can be gray labeled. on a web page. And what we're going to do is we're going to generate an assistant, kind of based on that. And with that, it's going to converse with them in this nice, pretty, something like this on a web page that's nice and prettied up. They will talk with it there. They will go through some fake things like a fake Stripe, checkout, because we're going to walk them through the customer journey. Again, I think sales is played out. I think if we kind of show them a little bit more than sales, that's really going to blow their mind and really kind of set you apart from the 148,723 Go High Level agencies that there are. And we'll take them through the idea of a support channel with their bot now, in the same way of their current customer they paid on Stripe. We're doing support for them, and then we're going to have them quote unquote churn. We're going to have them cancel their Stripe subscription, and we're going to walk them all through this. And then we're going to have an AI call them and ask them why they churned and try to give them a coupon to come back on. So it's going to be like a customer journey type thing in like 5 minutes of what would just be texting back and forth with a bot, asking like business specific questions. It's like an interactive portal where they can watch it happen and get talked through the idea of AI at every step of your business. That's the idea.
Basically overload with them with information so they can't think too much and just say, hey, let me sign on.
Yeah. And the idea is to kind of just like almost be a buddy to say like, hey, okay, now we're going to do support, so ask me a question about your business, something that you have a problem with, and I'm going to fix that problem. And then we'll just generate a basic, like, do some triage for solar or something like that. And then we're going to say, okay, now you're going to act as someone who's churning from the system, and we're going to try to win you back. And so they'll churn. They'll play a fake Stripe thing, and then we'll come back and we'll call them and we'll say, hey, why'd you churn? All this. And again, at the end, we're going to say, thank you so much for demoing it. By the way, all 4 of these assistants are ready for you right now if you want to sign up. We have them already created. We have them an account for you, just waiting. All you have to do is pay. Does that sound fair? And then hopefully they pay.
Oh,
Man, it's
they'll
crazy.
pay.
I love how you tie it all together. So.
They will pay.
That's what I figure. It's like, again, sales is the main thing, but it's like, come on, let's get fancy with this thing. So if you kind of show them all that, and then just it's there waiting for them, all they have to do is swipe their card. Like that's hard to resist.
So will the payment endpoint include the account creation within the assistable dashboard itself?
Yep. So then we'll have public. That's why it's going to be a gray labeled page so that we can keep everything isolated in an environment, and also do some fun stuff inside there for them. Like we will have custom functions that are going to be pushed to that page to show them like, oh, a support ticket's been created, and this has been created, and kind of show them like how now when you talk to a chat assistant, you see like the things that it's doing. We'll kind of show them that it's actually doing those things, because I think that's another part is anyone can do smoke and mirrors. We're going to show them that it's actually doing these on its own. But yeah, and then all that'll be sent to an endpoint, kind of ready as a template, and what will be the new snapshot portal that's coming up too.
Fair enough. And how does the my Stripe will communicate with Assistable, or will there be a way to connect my Stripe into Assistable and create plans inside it?
Yeah, it's going to be a couple things. I probably what I'll do is you'll just give me a link to where to send them at the end, and I'm going to generate fake, like they're not even going to be real Stripe things. It's going to be one that looks just like Stripe, and I'm just going to build a UX UI for it for them to fake pay and everything like that. And then at the end, we'll have a call to action button, and you can tell us where to send them on that call to action button.
All right, fair call, man. Awesome.
What's going on? Matt or Emmanuel, I don't know who raised their hand first.
I have a question. I'm updating my voice assistant, and when I save it, it goes to a perpetual updating. Is there something I'm missing?
Either refresh the page, reset your cookies, or go into a separate tab. Go to agentcentric.com/dashboard and see if you are logged out.
Okay.
That should handle it. Those are the 3 use cases that I've seen for that. Cookies, just need to refresh the browser, or you as the agency owner have been logged out in some way of the admin portal.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Emmanuel, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing well,
Good.
brother.
So 3 quick questions with the personal email. Is this like can can you do like bulk email writing with this, or what is the full functionality with the email task?
The email is so kind of like the isolation of this, right? Because there was someone who was a little bit confused about this, in the past. So when it comes to stuff like email, it's the assistant is isolated in an environment, right? The environment of its conversation with the user. And now, could we go out and say, okay, when you're activated, go send an email to 50 people? We could, but you can just do that with a workflow. It would be cheaper to do it with a workflow as far as like processing cost. So if it's like mass sending emails or anything like that, all that stuff, I'd keep it to workflows. But the send email is for either, again, dynamically sending email to this in this isolated environment to the user, aka the contact, or having it do it autonomously, which it will do if there's action items. For example, user says, "Oh, I'm not interested. Send me more information." I'll say, "Okay," and then send them an email with more information.
Right. Okay. And how about that floating chat widget? What happened?
It'll make it come back. That's part of
Okay. Part of
all
that.
of this.
Okay.
I don't know if you
Okay.
can see this. All of this.
Yeah. Okay. I was just missing that. And the last one, how about bulk dialing? Can we connect the AI, or we need multiple numbers? How would that work?
Just run contacts through the workflow. Now, I will tell you this just from a compliance perspective and from a warming perspective. This is a new Twilio number, unless you're doing transient, but we're talking inbound outbound. This is a new
Right.
Twilio number. It's like if you get a new number from high level and you text 1,000,000 people, you'll get flagged. So the appropriate cadence for this thing that I would probably do for the next month, and again, this is just email, this is text, this is everything. Calling, all that. Warm your stuff. Your social media the same way. Warm your social medias. Drip 100 a day, one every 15 minutes. 100 a day, one every 15 minutes. And I would do in the workflow section is have a workflow called outbound call. First action is whatever you want to do as far as attribution handling. But do drip 100 a day. Wait for compliant hours where you just do a blank wait and then do a advanced setting for compliant hours. And then underneath, do a drip for one every 15 minutes. That'll warm your number. That'll keep you out of regulatory bodies' eyes, and that will also keep your Twilio number from blowing up and saying spam likely.
Right.
That's all
All
you gotta
right.
do. Just run a list through that workflow.
All right. Thanks, man.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. Thank you.
Brother?
Appreciate it.
Sweet. Let's do it. Let's see who's next. Barry, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, just a couple quick questions. When I may have missed this if you already talked about it because I had a call,
Yeah.
but the sub account being able to pay their own way, when will they be able to like log in and connect a payment?
I don't have a hard set deadline, but that's definitely like at the top of the priority of this list you see behind me because that's going to link in with the voice subscription, external deployments, and everything else. So soon is the probably most accurate answer. Now, is it going to be soon, like a month? No, like soon within the very near future.
Okay, and that PDF you've been popping in and out, that looks fantastic. Is it possible that we can get it without the get it white label without the assistable AI on that?
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Yeah. And then lastly, what you just mentioned about warming up, if you're not sending emails or texts related to the voice AI, you still need to warm the phone number up?
Yeah, that was a reference to anything you do in outreach. You want to warm it or you blow it up. Even social medias are that way. If you send too many DMs, without warming a social media, then you'll blow up your social media and get flagged. But it's a new Twilio number, so they're just kind of watching you as a new user. So you just warm it for a little bit. It's like warming an email. Make sure that you have some volume under your belt, and that's when you can start hitting volume.
So what would you consider the ramp up?
100 a day, one every 15 minutes is a good place to start.
And then but when can you ramp up from that?
I'd probably give it a couple weeks. Again, just depending on your target market, how warm or cold your leads are. Because if these are Facebook leads that are just dying to buy your product, your stuff's going to be amazing because your answer rate's going to be good. Your people won't block your number, which goes against it, or say stop, which goes against it, things like that. So it's at your discretion on where your leads are coming from, but I think a good general number, 100 a day, 1 every 15 minutes. Do that for a couple weeks. Go down to 1 every 10 minutes. Do that for a couple weeks. Go to 1 every 5 minutes.
Or you can ramp up by just getting additional numbers.
No, because those additional numbers will be new too, so they will have to ramp too. But I guess you could kind of sequence them in a way. But if you don't care if somebody calls back or anything like that, if you just want a transient type thing, either way.
Okay, so once this once this is given or handed off to the sub account, I don't have any way of stopping them from adding the AI call tag. What if they start throwing it at cold calls, uploading lists and cold calls?
They will be the one clicking the button. The hierarchy of the account they're telling us as a platform that location has agreed that they will abide by rules. Now I can't. I don't have a DNC thing to check. I lied. I do have a DNC thing to check. It's not live though. I can check. But
yeah,
I have no control over who they call or what they don't. So that's going to be on them.
Yeah. So, but okay. So I had an account suspended for text. Their LC phone privileges were suspended for texting, but I don't know how they would either Twilio or even High Level would know if you're cold calling voice only.
Technically nobody. It's like that thing, right? Like, it's not breaking the law if you get away with it, right? It's only at the time that you don't, and then somebody reports you, and then you get a $10,000 fine, and then we got to go through a whole legal process of this.
I'm aware of the whole. In fact, I may have mentioned it in a couple of webinars ago that I was actually working on. I was ready to pull the trigger on my own DNC API.
Yeah.
And then I seen that in your list of things to do. Mm-hmm. So I've held off on it, but it was basically we were going to run them all through a bulk for all existing contacts, and then D&D, anybody that was on that list. Yep. And then it was going to be incorporated to basically fire that API every time a contact is added. And, it was going to work pretty good, but if it's going to be built into your system, I just as soon not build my own API integration.
Yeah, we'll have a setting for that. And we may just do it naturally and just to keep logs of that, because I think the name of the game with compliance, especially compliance in 3 or 4 months now, is going to get really hammered on. I think the name of the game from everybody's aspect here is record keeping. So we will probably do it for every call that passes through our system, but you will tell us whether we actually block the call or not.
Well, the best deal I found on a API was a site called Landline Remover.
Yeah.
And they had a pretty sweet. It was a fraction of a penny per check. And they had an API. So, that's where I was heading with it. But the initial setup with the 100 drip and all that, I think that'll kind of take care of it for, the beginning, but there's no way for me to stop somebody dumping, I can keep that AI caller locked, that workflow, so they can't go in and alter it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at some point, they're going to want to, just like the guy that got suspended, he turned around. I had all this stuff set up. Every account's based on inbound marketing. He decided to buy a bunch of, he said they were good leads. They were solicited and wanted a call and on, but they were probably given a shit list for their money. And he pounded them with a power dialer and a follow-up with a text. Mm-hmm. And they was smacking stop as fast as you could type. And he got suspended, but but not because of the power dial calls, because of the text. So I'm just guessing, somebody's going to think this voice AI is a great replacement for telemarketing, and they're going to at some point want to pump a lot of them in there, and I can't keep an eyeball on every single account.
We'll do that. We'll have rate limits on the back end. 'Cause the
But
problem is people think that's the problem is people they'll do it. So we'll have rate limits on the back end. That's kind of technically there. In fact, if you look at the request from the call, we track how many, just for record keeping, and then that will probably go into a hard limit again, kind of when everything gets finalized, and we'll keep up with that for you, and you can tell us like, hey, this guy's known for, for doing some volume. Why don't you stop him after like 10 every 10 minutes or something like that?
right, the primary or my best account, he's all inbound. But somebody comes in, they actually get a Zoom sit with him and myself, and he walks through how he does it and why he's the number one insurance agent in the whole insurance company. And as far as but there's always that guy that thinks he's smarter than everybody else, and that he can do this without spending any money on marketing. And he'll inevitably dump an age list or go after 7-year-old contacts that he had. Inevitably they think they're smarter than the world, and they fuck things up.
How it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have safeties for it. Again, like I've tried to be. I've always been pretty skeptical of voice AI, just because even in the wild west days when it was like AIR was like the only thing, and it was like holy shit, it's unlocked a whole new level of outreach. That only took 2 months. It only took 2 or 3 months before that. They've got some basic stuff in there, and then even in the future, not too far from now, there's some stuff going to be put in place even further for it. So I'm keeping an eye on it myself. I will not let them blow up their stuff, but I'm also someone who allows a lot of autonomy. I'm not going to stop you from doing certain things, but I will at least guide you in the right direction.
Well, one guy asked me, he said, I have a list of 2 million. I stopped him right there. I said, there's no way you have an opted in list of 2 million. But that's what I'm saying is you give somebody a tool and they think they can, stop buying leads. They can stop doing marketing. They can and just pound some, some phone list. It'll happen, But so the DNC is important. If you don't implement it, I will. But it'd be better for me, not just on fee, but it'd be better off for me if it's all centralized.
Yep. No, trust me, it's a big thing. And it's definitely something that's been requested because of that. So you'll see it in there soon.
Yeah, and the the cloning thing, that was one of the things that came out as soon as AI voice started hitting. They put rules down about cloning your, so that you didn't get a call from Ronald Reagan or Barack Obama. What about cloning your own voice? Is that still allowed, or is that?
I have a strong stance on it of just no cloning right now. Now, will that probably change? Again, it's just regulation goes along with it. Because, for example, we would have to do that at scale. We'd have to confirm it ourselves, right? We'd have to have some sort of form submission. We would probably have to do something like send us your stuff. Also, send a video of you recording it yourself so that we can watch you do it and we know that you're the one who recorded it. It would be a long process that goes along with it, which is why I've skipped out on it for right now, but maybe is the right answer in the future.
Okay. One last thing, and they keep popping in my head. I apologize. One last thing is, everyone to a person is disappointed that Walter's not in there. So if you can put Walt, and it's, we had a long talk on it last night in a Zoom. The age of Walter, as far as his voice, works really good. His cadence, because of his age and all, it just seems to work really good. And he sounds. I know you favor Catherine and Emily, and Catherine's pretty good. That's the one they picked after testing a dozen or so, independent of your recommendation. But they want Walter back.
Okay. I'll see what I can do. Shoot me a text to remind me, or I will forget. Let me see what I can do for you. Jocelyn, what's going on?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you. So questions. I have a lot of contacts who have no idea about the time zone. Like, for example, so if I set up the assistant as you in Pacific time zone or Eastern time zone, they will stop answering. So the only way we can do it, like, which state are you in? So I trained the assistant to ask them like, what state are you in? Then we have to look at the state and then we figure out the time zone.
Yeah.
Before we book the appointment. Is there any good prompt for like instruction for the assistant to do that?
There is the LLM is actually really good about it most of the time, but I have this too in the training data. Let me pull this up for you. So I have a data set, a vector store of every zip code in the United States and in Canada converted to a time zone as a vector store file, and that is located there. You go to that Notion
Amazing.
page, yeah, and you'll see it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a huge file. There's 72,000 entries into it. It's every zip code converted to a time zone offset. So if you throw that in your vector store, and again, LLM's pretty good at it. That's why that prompt I put up there, it's pretty autonomous in a lot of the ways that it can convert, except for Australia apparently, U.S. to Australia. But it tends to do a pretty good job with that vector store. And again, just let it know to ask them their state, and then you can say task 1, ask the user what state they are in, and then you could tell the assistant to do a time zone conversion, or try its best to understand the time zone offset based on that, because it's done on time zone offset. That's the data type that high level takes, so that's the one that they're looking for.
Amazing. How can we get access to that? The zip code.
I just dropped it in the chat.
Oh,
Yep. Little Notion page there. It also, so on that Notion page, I have a few data sets on there. I have the zip code one. I have, let me pull it up. I have the zip code one. I have the Go High Level one. I have some verbiage training too, some reformatting and some training data in there, some power words for sales and marketing. And then I also have a how to generate your own JSON FAQ from URLs inside of ChatGPT. I give you the full prompt on how to do it.
amazing. Thank you so much.
I hope that's helpful.
Very, very helpful.
Perfect. Link AI. Link AI, what's going on?
Hey, boss man, Spencer here. Actually, apologize for the name there. It says, yeah. So, anyways, I appreciate your time, man. You've gone into some depth here, and it's been helpful indeed. So, I recently came across you and your tool here after doing a ton of code. I've been learning how to code for the past like year and a half, focused specifically on the real estate investment and services industry for myself and my clients, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things. I've been utilizing a lot of the LangChain framework, LangGraph, and everything like that to try and integrate this into Go High Level. But after coming across you and your tool, I'm like, hey, let's just hop on Jordan's boat here. This is incredible. He's doing everything that I'm hoping to do. So I guess that leads into my questions, which are what's going to be the possibility of somewhat like an open source, maybe for lack of a better word? Like, am I going to be able to take all the my fast API endpoints and Python like function code and be able to kind of like bring that in with what you've got here, or what are your thoughts on that there?
Yep. So it's not invoice. It technically is invoice, but not yet.
Okay.
Well, we'll have a function builder, so you'll be able to build your own functions. Give us the
Beautiful.
the custom name, the description, the endpoint, and the JSON
Yeah.
schema for what you're looking to do. And then, like, for example, this is voice. So what should it say? Well, it does this thing to buy itself some time.
Right.
So this infrastructure here, building this out for voice,
Beautiful.
not only is going to get to do a lot of cool things on calls. For example, I mean, you could build a restaurant ordering system with this if you really wanted to. But we're going to take the same infrastructure with the chat reverb or the refresh, and so we'll have all of these already in here for you. But we'll also have one where you can create custom ones if you'd like. So anything
Love it.
as far as endpoints or anything like that. Again, I'd say half of our
Awesome.
user base is extremely technical, half is not. So for the half that is extremely technical, I'm starting to build out more technical products like function calling and function building and things like that that are, open source to you.
Awesome. I love it, man. And then again, I'm just still having to do more research and digging into all of your documentation. So forgive me here for this, but it at first glance, it was looking like this isn't going to be something I could white label or like resell or like integrate into sub accounts. Is that something that's changing with version 2, or am I just mistaken?
Yeah,
What's
you
that
can,
like?
Yeah, you can completely white label it and natively put it in the sub accounts. So that's
Okay.
yeah. Let me show you here. I don't know if I have my admin dashboard set up here or in. I don't even know if I'm logged in. Let me see. This is the agency portal. So you're able to completely white label it here. You brand the portal, and the portal is put in via custom menu link inside of High Level. So it's localized as far as the deployments and everything. Like this is in the sub account, not in the agency. So you give this to the sub account, it's white labeled. Like if I were to change this logo or change the name, for example.
Yeah.
Change name, save that. Then I don't have it displayed here, but it changes
No
all the
worries.
white label
Yeah.
everything here. So
Okay. Very cool.
easy enough. Put it in sub accounts,
Yeah.
white label it, do all the fun stuff. Pretty easy too. It's just OAuth, and then we do the rest. All you have to do is put in a custom menu link.
Okay. Nice. And then I'd say last question here. Are you doing this solo? Is this just you? It kind of sounds like it.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Impressive, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, me and my wife will help me with some of this cool stuff, like you see the documentation and all. But
Yeah.
flying it solo, man. I really like what I do. I enjoy the people I work with and the solutions that get created. So, of course, probably very, very soon at the scale that we're at now, we'll probably have to start hiring like crazy. But right now, yeah, just solo, man.
Okay. All right. I love it, man. Cheers to that. I think that'd be leading into my last question, which is, would you be against maybe hopping on another call, maybe scheduling something? Because I'm wondering if, I'm ignorant to a lot of stuff, but I would be interested in seeing if maybe I can add some value somehow, or if that's even possible, man.
Yeah, we'll have a partner program here soon. As far as build outs and things like that, I tend to do them a lot. However, my time is becoming very sparse, especially for
Yeah, I
little
can imagine.
stuff. So we'll have a partner program where someone who's very technical minded that not only knows our platform but AI, the nuances of AI. An example, like the voice runs on a LangChain agent infrastructure with things like Claude and everything like that. It runs like the cluster model. So like agent infrastructure on voice and assistant infrastructure for chat. So people who are well acquainted with those two things can build, go high level, know our stuff. Is all the requirements we need, and we have a pretty intense process for doing it. But we'll have a partner program where you will be able to get access to build things out for people, because at this point, like I said, I don't have much time myself, and I'm gonna have to start charging $3,500 an hour, which is about what it equates to for build outs and all. So I figured I'd let the partner network come in and help out, and maybe even give some diversity of thought.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that sounds very interesting indeed. So,
yeah,
all right.
shoot me something over in school, and I'll see what I have in the next couple weeks.
All righty, that sounds good, man. I appreciate your time very much.
All right, brother. Thank you. Alex, what's going on, man?
Hey, so I got a couple questions. First of them is related to the Go High Level chat widget. I know that it's not exactly the best. With that being said, do you happen to know of any way it can basically hand off support to a human during business hours and then collect contact information during off hours? Just out of my own curiosity.
Yeah, Yeah, I kind of do. Now, have I tested it? No, but I have an idea. If you send me a reminder about that, I may actually be able to send you a Loom because I have an
Yeah.
idea of how I would do it. Is it the correct way to do it? No, but I have an idea of how I would do it. So,
Hey, it's worth testing. So my second question is, I have a meeting with a CPA tomorrow. It's a business accounting firm. And although I do have an idea about how this whole AI infrastructure would work for them, I was wondering if there are any private legal implications to any step of that infrastructure.
yeah, financials, interesting. Because of the regulations, and again, what data can we keep? What can we not? What can we say?
Yeah.
I don't know much about CPA. I'm from like the financial market side of it, so I know like FINRA and I know insurance and things like that. I don't know much about CPAs.
Okay.
CPAs were the less cool bankers, so so I don't know what kind of regulations they sit on, but I don't think there would be too much of a problem. Now, voice is like also like a gray area for a lot of these industries, but when it comes to chat, I mean, unless they have some sort of regulation that says something completely against automation as far as communication with clients, users, whatever, or if it's something that says we need to tell people it's AI, that's probably what I figured out is what's the regulation that's going to hold it back and then work back from there. Do you know? Or
Yes.
okay, what's the regulation?
Okay.
Is it things on like communication or?
I think it would be more. I think it would be more having to do with maybe the fact that they handle people's social security numbers. That's what I'm trying to figure out. When at what point?
Yeah, I've dealt with a couple use case and build outs of things like that. And what I usually do, because this is going to be on the sales side or account handling.
I don't know exactly if it's going to be on one or both yet. I'm going to be talking to them tomorrow, but let's just talk about both use cases to be in the same side, to be on the safe side.
Think of an assistant as a lower level employee, especially in the financial industry, right? You have your, we call them client associates and things like that. Now, client associates wouldn't get access to information like that. They're very blocked off. They can't make trades. They can't do stuff like that. But you know what they can do is they can talk to clients to bring them to us to make the trades.
Right.
I would treat an assistant very similarly in that fact of if you're doing CPA, if you're doing RA, if you're doing insurance, whatever it is, where you have to handle sensitive information or things that are heavily regulated, use the assistant as almost like a client associate, like an assistant, right? To say, let's collect maybe A through W information, and let's let the CPA collect the social security number and everything while they're on the call, or while they're on the meeting, or whatever it is. That may be the best way to do something like that, and that's how I've done it in the past.
Okay.
And that's how I'm doing it also for the mortgage lending side of it. The AI is going to be prompted not to take any sensitive information like social security, and that will only come from a licensed loan agent.
Cool.
That's how I'd run it. What else you thinking?
I mean, that was pretty much the main thing I wanted to find out.
Yeah. Anything to do with information handling, especially like on regulated industries, I would treat the AI like probably what it should be treated in a situation like that as a not lower level employee is not the right word. In fact, I'd probably derogatory, but like an assistant or a pathway to the ultimate person who will be able to collect and process and do things with that sensitive information. Just get them to the person. The person has to do one or two things. Boo-hoo. They got there by AI. So
Right. So my other question is basically I'm thinking that one of the assistants can provide specific tax information to someone who has very particular requirements. For example, their LLC is being taxed this way. They have this and this and this members, because this is business accounting. And while I would make sure to, of course, put a disclaimer that you're going to have to talk to human in order to get financial advice, and make sure that you are not breaking the tax code. I'm just giving you general information. What do you think about that? Because it's basically accountant specific knowledge and application of the tax code.
Would I do it? No, I wouldn't do it. It just comes from the experience of at this point I have fine tuned so many AIs. I have I've gone all the way on. AI is AI. It's index matching at the end of the day. There might be a hallucination because of something they said. They may have said, it's almost like I forget that old meme of like the sleeper word of like in Captain America where you said the one word around his friend and he turned into the Winter Soldier. It's kind of like one of those things. They may say the wrong thing and it may just start hallucinating. So I wouldn't personally for things like that. That can be automated through a REST API endpoint. Just, hey, fill out your information. We'll call to an endpoint and then we'll get you that information back in an email. That's probably a better use case. Probably a cheaper use case too. But I'm not going to stop you. I would just, if you are, heavily train it, tons of data, heavily prompt it in the same way that's in there, same way you know how to do. And make sure that there are plenty of disclaimers going out that this is an AI. It's going to try its best to give you a general idea, but you're not going to be able to confirm that advice, nor will you be able to take that advice and keep us liable for that advice until it has been confirmed by an official CPA, something like that. Again, would I do it? No, but if I were to do it, that's how I'd probably do it.
Gotcha. Thank you, Jordan.
Yep, hope that's helpful, man.
It is. Appreciate it.
Deb, what's going on, gal?
Hey, I just want a question about that white labeling. Were you talking about the white labeling our back office in Assistable?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to add a domain to make the URL white labeled?
No, not right now.
Hmm.
Maybe when the widgets make a comeback, because they'll have to iframe, and you're either gonna have to mask our domain or they'll see our domain. But right now, no big deal.
Okay.
I don't think it's a big deal.
Okay.
Jocelyn, what's going on, gal?
Yeah, so I know that you have to have 100 AI responses and 25 reformats.
Yeah.
We train it, and I'm very niche. Like I have focused like the whole my customer have the same system, like the same prompts and everybody the same. So can I use just from one sub account and then can I use the same file for all the accounts?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'll release that. Again, that's part of this whole fun thing back here. I'll get that release and me and you will kind of go through it because I know I owe you some time anyways. Me and you will kind of go through it and we'll make sure that it's, we'll do the verbiage reformatting. I may even use you as an official test because I've tested it myself. It tends to work, really well, but, it's never really broken until Johnny or Ricky get their hands on it. So you may be my test use case here. So.
Nice. Okay. And can you also provide like the example how we have to put it in the CSV document, right? And then download that and transfer that and convert that into a JSON. Yeah. So like how many columns we have? Just like AI answer reformat to this. So you have to have 2 columns like that.
Yeah, we'll do all that on the back end for you. That's why I'm building it out. So like what we'll do is we'll give you your historical AI responses, and then we will ask you, did you like this response or did you not like this response? And you'll either say, oh, I did like this response. And we'll say, great, we're going to keep that and we're going to vector store it. And then you'll come and you'll see one that, well, I wouldn't have said that. I don't like that one. And then we'll ask you, well, what would you have said instead? And then you'll give us what you would have said instead. And then you'll save that and then we'll store it too. And we'll basically put all that into a giant vector store, put that into the model, and then we also run back-end processing on the messages too. So as the message goes out, we'll actually catch it before it goes out, and we'll say, is this up to her standards of reformatting? If not, we will reformat it, and if it is, we'll send it as is. So it's actually a pretty cool system I've been working on. But yeah, that's how that'll work.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Not much you have to do. Edward, what's going on?
Yes, I was wondering when you were talking about the gray level, are you stating that this will be able to be used on other website platforms, that it's no longer going to be just subject to Go High Level?
When I say gray label for that specifically, because of how technical of a product that's going to be, that means we'll own it, and it'll be a website that we own separate from us, so it'll be under a pseudonym. So it'll be under like createassistance.com. Like I own like 50 AI domains. It'll be gray labeled with a domain specific data piece, which will have your stuff in it. So it'll be a gray labeled website where all the endpoints and everything will be exactly what it needs to be. No user input. so it never breaks. And you'll just put in your stuff, and that'll gray label it to the person coming there, with your stuff. And again, it'll be like a general process that they'll walk through. It's not going to change from company to company. It's just going to show them the power of it. And really, the only thing we need to do is send them to the right place afterwards. So it'll be something like that, but that's kind of the idea of it. Now, will we have things that are completely white label? It's like, here's your snapshot for processing. Yeah, 100%. I think the big one right there, that they may have to be a gray label type thing.
So as it stands right now, the Go High Level is the only platform that this can be applied to.
Not necessarily. Yes, Go High Level native to everything, but I mean, if you want to take it off to WordPress or Shopify or something like that, you can put the Go High Level native chat widget in there, or when the REST API portfolio comes out, or any of them works.
Okay, because like I have another platform that I'm really trying to migrate a lot of my clients to, and I'm not certain that I want to keep Go High Level, but I love your services. So it's like, can I take your services to this other platform, and leave Go High Level behind? Why
don't you send me an email of what platform, and I'll take a look, and give me a timeline, and I'll give you a timeline, and we'll figure something out.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep. Send me an email, remind me. You may have to bug me a couple times. This doesn't work too well, so you got to hit me a couple times, but we'll figure it out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Okay, what else we got? Is that it? Oh, man, we're running over our time. Let's see how we're doing. What's going on?
Yeah, man. Are we gonna do the build tonight, or?
Yeah, I'll do it if we have time. I have time. I have time until a little bit later, but I'm gonna send it if y'all have time.
Go for it.
That's what I'm here for.
Julian, what's going on, brother?
Hey man, how are you?
Doing well. I saw you, by the way. I did see your email. I need to get back to you.
It's all good, man. I know you're super busy. Lots of awesome stuff coming through. Probably just one quick question. Just wondering about international for us Aussie guys down here, down under.
Calling. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
probably,
really under, man.
Yeah, there's a few of you on here, man. I swear.
It's like nearly 4 a.m., man. That's commitment.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, good on
Yeah,
you guys. I appreciate you being here. My gosh. If I would have known that, I would have just sent you a recording.
Are you in Sydney, Julian?
Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm in Perth.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm really keen to sort of utilize some of the awesome features that have come out. So, a bit limited though. But yeah, look, it's all amazing. But yeah, just curious.
Thank you. Yeah. So here's my timeline, because funny enough, the reason I delayed voice prod, one was to test, but the other was because I didn't want to be unfair to you guys and gals who are international. I didn't want to be unfair, but with the transient model, my immediate solution to that is we'll run the transient model, and I'll beef up the transient model, so it'll be similarly functionable and at least good enough for right now. And then when I can figure out this inbound thing, not only will it be able to, like we had talked about before, allow you to bring in your own international Twilio number, but also your own Go High Level, either at Go High Level or Go High Level international number as well. So that's my timeline for that. Is I'm going to get you set up so you have some good stuff on there for transient, and then we'll get into actually the number and everything for international, which will be importing.
Awesome, man. That's cool. But also, probably better to take it offline. But just to add a couple of technical things that I did email you about, just with not being able to access a few things. But yeah, all in all, loving it.
Yeah, just shoot me an email. I know it's late for you. Shoot me an email to remind me, because I'll take a look after this, and we'll get back on there, and I'll get that settled for you, my friend.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
What's going on, Ricky?
Hey man, just on the transient numbers, I had a couple of clients that I was talking to, and they're not very comfortable with round robin numbers going around, because if somebody tries to call them back, there's no way that we can forward it to somewhere. So it basically renders it useless. Is what they're trying to say is like, okay, I called someone, and when they try to call back, where's the endpoint going to?
It's going to go out in space because it's a number pool. So technically, the inbound isn't really linked to anything on the WebSocket. So it'll ring and it'll just kind of say Verizon Wireless or whatever, something like that. But that's why I'm like, it's a temporary fix. I know it sucks. But international was also a little bit harder than I could have imagined it would be, because U.S., I mean, everything's just built for the U.S., unfortunately. But at least the importing numbers, now that I'm finding that to be a little bit easier of a solution, I don't see much longer until that's a thing.
Hey, Jordan, how about SIM card, digital SIM cards? Some system use that, which is really, really good, because they could just buy a SIM card like $10, $20 a month, and it's almost unlimited, you know?
I don't know much about it. I'd stayed native to Twilio because of just how reliable and good it is. The SIM card thing, I just have zero clue about. Zero.
It's a decentralized thing. It complicates stuff.
Yeah, so I think the transient, or not transient, but the importing thing may be the best option. And I may just even, depending on how that goes, be able to do it through mine. But it's the regulation and like because some countries you need to put in an address, submit an ID, and that's for all the countries. And we got to come up with
It's more. I think import is the best function. So, or you allow us to connect our own Twilio.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking too. That's probably what it'll end up being.
Because if we connect our own Twilio, it's easier for us to go through and pass the regulations. Because in Australia, it's just address regulation. You just have to have an address proof. That's about it.
Yeah. Yep, that's probably what I'll end up doing. And again, I haven't tested it too thoroughly, but that's because of how necessary easy it was. That's probably what I'll end up doing, and I don't see that being a very long timeline for that.
All right, mate. Thank you.
Yeah. Now you guys are always at the front of my brain. Again, it's almost a reason I delayed voice a little bit, because I didn't want to seem unfair, but US was genuinely 10 times easier. So I'll get something for y'all though.
We used to it.
I figured it's like everything's US centric, man. Everything. I guess that's just the name of the game, though. Okay, let's have some fun with these things. I kind of want to build out my stuff. I know I hope the time has at least been useful. I hope the time, the questions, the overview, the PDF, my rambling, everything else. I hope that's at least been useful.
Super valuable. Super valuable. So.
Okay. I'm always curious, so I'm going to build something right here, because I just haven't built any of mine. So I think what I'll probably do, I don't know if Jerry's on the call. Jerry, are you on the call? I don't think he's on the call. He'll find it pretty familiar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an assistant team lead magnet. I'm going to use 3 assistants here to kind of attack a incoming lead, to kind of show them what AI can do, from just the aspect of again, just selling them back their business. I'd rather just kind of go through this cadence of showing them these things working together and how they work together and the things that they can do when they work together. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to run with, I'm going to create a voice assistant. My internet's super slow. Okay. And I'm going to create 2 chat. I'm going to do a post call and a pre-call for this lead magnet. And then I'm going to go ahead and tee up the workflows too. So what I'm going to do is have them fill out a form. I probably will do it natively and send it through, but I guess for this one, we'll do it all inside of high level. So let's do lead magnets. I'll just build a folder to keep all this stuff in. And I want what would be my activation workflow. So this is what's going to get us started here. I'm just going to keep that to the side. And then I need my outbound workflow, which is where I'll be able to switch assistants and also make the outbound call. So outbound call switch. I'm going to save that, and then I need a post call, so I can handle after the call. We can hit them up with some follow up and kind of build onto the fact again, just this thing's multi-channel, and we'll give the illusion of that they're talking to each other until voice can look at the conversation log. So we'll go post call webhook. Perfect. And I'm going to open up 2 tabs of high level here, just so I can do the post call webhook. And let's start creating the assistants. So what I'm going to do, the cadence is going to be a very natural cadence of the conversation. In fact, it's almost a psychological move here where I'm going to have the assistant almost sound like it's me, like it messed up. So a purposeful mess up, I'm going to do that a couple times. Again, just seeming the human-like aspect of it. Because I really don't want them to feel like they're talking to AI. I want them to feel like they're talking to a human. And then during the call that is booked, either through chat or through voice, that's when we kind of show like, hey, it was AI the whole time. So I always attribute my leads to where they come from. So I always add a tag and I'll say lead magnet. So I know where this lead come from. So if I need to do a DBR later, do you always have to add a tag? No, but I always like to keep up with my attribution. And let me know if I ramble too much or if I should just shut the hell up and build, or if it's helpful to kind of talk through it.
Please talk through it.
I was just going to say that.
Please
Step
do.
by step, baby. Step by step.
Let's do it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a lot of, again, I like to do a lot of attribution reporting. I like to do a lot of the work on the front end, so I never have to touch this thing again. So I will probably even do some stuff offline, but it's not going to be relevant. It's going to be webhooking to like our direct software database and everything like that. But I like to do the attribution reporting just to make sure that I know where everybody came from so that I can cater to them later. You'll notice a lot of my outreach, a lot of my funnels, a lot of my sales processes are extremely customized because I know where everyone is coming from because of this. I know where they came from. I know where they've been. I know how many times they've tried this. If you notice, when the old phone element was up there, if you tried it more than 2 times, it had verbiage for that. So I track a lot of stuff. It may not be 100% necessary for a lot of things, but again, you can get pretty granular in the way that you're talking to leads. We're going to say team lead magnet. I'm going in here and I'm creating a custom field folder because there's some custom fields that I want to do just for me. So I want to do a number because I'm going to do an AI call tracker or AI call tracking. And I'm going to say this is for lead magnet. So I know how many times they've been called by the lead magnet. I'm also going to do just a number here just to say run times. And so why I'm doing this is just to track the overall times that they've gone through this, because it'll be an assistant team. They may not call it every time, so I want to track how many times they call it. I want to track how many times they go through it in general. For the calling, I want to also track the AI call fail rate, just in case I need to do some error handling on that for volume. AI call fail rate, that's going to be numerical. All these are going to be numerical just for tracking. And then I want to call, I think that's it. I think that may be it for right now. We'll come back to that. So now in the automation, I'm going to go here, and when I activate this, I'm going to do a math equation. Ooh, math. I'm going to say from my runtime, I'm going to add 1 runtime, and I'm going to update runtime. And so what this is going to do is going to say update how many times they've went through, so update runtimes. And so every time someone comes through here, I'll be able to track how many times they've used that. And then now this is stored in a custom field, so I can go through it later and I can run a DBR and I can say, hey, I know you tried the funnel 4 separate times. Did you get the same, was it really consistent? Or maybe you only tried it once and that's an FL. And I'm like, I saw you only tried it once. Did you try it again just to see if you can get a different outcome? And so now my verbiage is really specific because of this attribution reporting we're doing here. Also, I'd like to we could do this in this one, but I just kind of like to separate it because I'm not a smart person. My brain is a very simple one, and I like to be able to see where everything is. So I'm going to add a contact tag. which will be my assistant tag. I'm just going to put a random one in here. I'm going to say activate assistant, which is going to activate our pre-call sales assistant. We'll say pre-call assistant. And then what I want to do is I want to put a synthetic weight here. Again, what we're going for here is to try to be as human as possible. And if I reply instantly, they're automatically going to know it's an automation or if it's an AI or something like that. And then again, I will just be everybody else. And the whole thing is I'm not like everybody else when I do my sales stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a synthetic weight. I'm going to synthetically wait for 5 minutes. So I'm going to make this lead wait for 5 minutes. And the whole point is I'm going to put verbiage that, hey, we're going to text you in a second. I'm going to wait 5 minutes, and then you'll see we'll come here, and I'm going to come there and be like, I'm going to say what's going on, contact first name. I'm going to hit him again, so this is going to be intro message. I'm going to hit him with one right after this, like I'm double texting them. And I'm going to say, sorry about that. I forgot to link up the form. Second message. And then I'm going to do another little synthetic weight here. And again, just to seem a little bit more human, if they get 3 really fast, like 2 really fast is fine, but like 3 really fast that's automation. So I'm going to put like a 6-second wait here. And then I'm going to come back and hit them with the third one, which is going to be our call to action here. I'm going to say, I'm just getting off a call. Let's use some verbiage like, I'm finishing up a call now. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your agency? Real quick. That's fine. I'm finishing up a call now. Why don't you I got you after. Okay, role playing language. This is going to be our call to action. And then what I'm going to do is wait 5 minutes. We're going to say wait. So it's going to be a reply or timeout 5 mins. I'm going to be waiting for a contact reply to any of these. Realistically, I probably want to do the last one, but that's fine. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait basically for them to respond. I'm going to do an if else and just say, did this person respond? And let me know if I need to go in more depth on this or if this is helpful enough. They did the contact respond.
The more, the better.
Okay, perfect. And so what I'm going to just do here is I added that wait with the condition of they're going to pass through if they reply, or we're going to time out in 5 minutes. If they reply, the assistant's just going to take it. So there's nothing I need to do here, but I am going to hit them real quick. I'm going to say, let me know if now still works. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do my favorite one here, which is just contact first name, question mark. Question mark. And then again, I'm going to hit them with another wait. I'm going to do 7 minutes, just a little longer. Again, making it seem as human as possible. I'm going to say reply, timeout, 7 mins. And we're going to wait for a reply to this. And then we're going to do another if else because we're going to hit them again. And so we're going to say, did the contact reply? Yes, they did reply if contact reply equals true. But if they didn't, then we need to follow up. And again, if they reply, the assistant's going to take it, no worries. I'm going to hit them with my last little message here and say, let me know if now still works. So I'm gonna hit him with that. Say, let me know. You notice the verbiage is super, super casual too. Again, like from the whole aspect of everyone has a AI lead funnel, but it all just seems automated, and the whole cadence of it is try my AI. But everything I do, I try to make it seem like it's not AI. So the whole value aspect here is that they never knew it was AI to begin with. That's what the most incredible thing about it is they never knew it was AI. And so when they get on the call with you and you realize, or they realize it was AI, then the value aspect is 10x there. We're gonna say reply or timeout. I'm gonna do 10 minutes here, and we're gonna reply to let me know. And if they reply to let me know, the assistant's gonna take it. No worries. Contact reply. Yes. And you know what? I may even add an additional assistant to this because I may call them after this. And I'll have some verbiage for that. And so now after 10 minutes, I'm going to outbound call. I'm going to say, I'm going to call this one right hook. Because if they didn't take the bait with my jabs, I'm at least going to try to right hook them. Okay, now next I want to go here to outbound call and switch. And so what this is going to do is the first assistant, if they prefer a call, which we're going to try to push them to, if they prefer a call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call them with AI, but I want to take off that initial AI in case there's some intermittent messaging, because I'm also going to put a delay in here too. I'm going to remove a tag. And I'm going to take off my AI assistant. So I'm going to say deactivate pre-call assistant. And then I'm going to make an outbound call here, which will be my, where I'm really trying to push them to. So calling assistant. And then let me just fill out these values here. Is this helpful? I hope this is helpful. I hope this isn't boring.
Yes, helpful.
And then I'm going to do a math operation here to count call tracking. Again, just in case they go through it. I want to make sure that we count that, and I need to update that in the other one too. A call lead tracking. So we're going to update our call metric. And then this should be fine. Now, what I want to do is go back here, and I'm going to do the same thing. It's just track if they got called by this AI. Now some error handling for this too. Selective film, AI calling, +1, AI calling, track AI calls. So we'll do some error handling up here. Again, some different verbiage because a lot of people try mine 3 or 4 times. So I will almost like replicate this cadence 3 separate times with different verbiage, like, oh, you're back again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, we'll just focus on the main thing. And then I need to do a post-call webhook. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here to my voice assistant for this, and I'm going to post-call webhook. Let's go here. This is my new voice assistant. I'm going to, under the integrations, I'm going to have this post-call webhook, and we're going to say inbound webhook here. This thing's going to give you a URL. You grab this fun thing, you put it in here, we paste it. We're going to send a webhook. And then now if I go into high level, I should have a payload with all this fun information. So everything I need to know about this call and who to attribute it to. I'm going to save that. They're going to give you create and update a contact. Don't do that. The contact's already created. We're just going to find the contact by a more reliable source, which is contact ID. Because you may have duplicate contacts on, and 2 users may share an email, or they may share a phone number. So that's not a super reliable way, but we're going to find the contact by contact ID, which is unique to each contact in your Go High Level database. And what I'm going to do is after they have the call here, I'm going to wait a minute for synthetic weight just for data to catch up. And I'm going to tag them here with a couple tags. I'm going to put what will be my post call assistant. Post call assistant. And then I also want to attribute if they've already been called. So I'll add a tag, lead magnet, finish magnet, post call. So I know where they're at. Again, so I can target them later. Okay, and then what I want to do is actually I want to move this here. I want to check something. So I want to do an if else, and I want to say during that call, did they book an appointment? And the answer is going to be either yes or no, because that's how, again, being customizing my verbiage afterwards. I'm going to say, look, this workflow contact, did they get an appointment? And the way I'll know that is they'll be active in my appointment confirmation reminder. That's kind of how they get there, is there was an appointment booked. I'll do appointment confirmation and reminder. I'm just going to do a sanity check. So after this call is done, did they book an appointment? If so, I have some verbiage I want to use. If not, I have some verbiage I want to use. So again, kind of going with the whole fun idea of this is a human on the back half of this is I'm going to say how as it. And then I'm going to hit them with a correction and say was. And then I'm going to say saw you booked an appointment. Not bad, huh? And again, just seeming more human, saying how was it, but misspelling was, checking my error, and then saying calling out the idea that they booked an appointment. Again, hyper customized. And then we'll do the same thing if they didn't book an appointment. We'll say saw you didn't book an appointment. So you didn't book an appointment. Not bad though, huh? That way I can kind of feed it. I mean, either outcome, I'm kind of feeding it to the same call to action. Now, I also want to test, just for latency sake, I'm going to add actually this tag here. I'm going to move this here just to track that they've been through the call, so I can add another if else here. And say, is this the first call? Yes. Actually, it's going to be reversed. Oh, that's right. Sorry, hope this is helpful. We'll say contact details or tag does not include what will be our lead magnet post call. And we will have some situational handling for that. I'm going to move this here. If this is, actually I do want that there. Sorry. Scatterbrain. So if this is their first call, I want them to go through this sequence, and I will have a sequence if they've already been through it. Again, kind of with some similar verbiage, just calling out the fact that this isn't their first time doing it. Then my inbound webhook set up. I have it finding my contact by contact ID with the inbound webhooks request contact ID. I'm activating my post call assistant. I'm adding a synthetic wait of 1 minute just to let data come through. And again, seem a little bit more human, not so automated. And then doing some error handling. And then just calling out the fact of whatever happened on that call. Okay. So let's do a little bit of assistant building, because that's really the infrastructure we need. Is this helpful? I hope this is helpful.
Yes. Very helpful. Yes.
Perfect. And This one's going to be my pre-call assistant. And of course, it'll always be Haley. Casual personality, all the tools, same thing as always. And nothing here. I kind of want this one to have a quicker queuing time. We're just going to connect it to our company stuff, multi-sim response, 125 character limit. I'm going to say specialist purpose to converse with the user who has opted in to try our AI. And then we're just going to generate a company overview. Perfect. We're going to use that. And why is this conversation happening? The user has opted in to try our AI. So you will converse, qualify, and book an appointment. You prefer casual language. Also prefer not, actually I'm going to say avoid affirmations in your replies. Be as concise as possible. Easy enough. Let's go here. And so we already know the introduction is going to be done by the workflow. So we're going to say qualify situation handle. And so what we want to do is we want to create it, tell it to do a task. The first thing is going to be ask the user if they are currently using any AI products. And we're going to do a conditional here. If the user is using AI, we'll change this, using any AI in their business. If the user is using AI in their business, ask the user what AI are they using. 1, 2, 3. If the user is not using AI in their business, ask the user what caught their eye about our product to start their AI journey. All right, so we have a little bit of dialogue there, and then I'm going to go ahead and get into what will be our quote-unquote bait and switch. So inform the user that you are now off of the call and have a little time to connect. Ask the user if they would prefer a call now or prefer to chat here. We'll say if the user prefers a call, we're going to call function role. I think it's enroll contact in workflow, but we'll just say in workflow. To enroll the user in a workflow, call them. If the user prefers to chat here, continue to step. What are we on? 2, 3. Okay, step 3. And we'll just kind of cover the situation that doesn't happen. And we'll say, ask the user. They are just getting started. Go high level. Actually, ask the user how many sub accounts they manage. And we'll ask the user if they just want voice, chat, or both. And then we'll just say, ask the user if they would be open to scheduling some time to take a look at the platform and make a decision then. And step 6 is going to be continue to the next goal. All right, the work's not done. I want a high persistence level here. And I also would like for it to enroll in a workflow. I'm going to enroll in a workflow here in the actions, and then I got to resync all my new workflows. When the user prefers a call the function enroll in workflow to enroll them the workflow to receive a call. Perfect. Is everybody still with me here? Any
Yep.
questions?
We here.
Anything
You're
we need to
here.
go over? Or is this helpful?
That's
Very
helpful.
happy. Very happy.
Extremely.
Cool. Perfect. Okay. I have a lot of more workflows than I remember. Which I'm going to try to put all in like an AI snapshot. Like that's kind of my hope with this resource portal that I'm working on, and I'm commanding my wife to help me work on too as much as she can, is to be able to have like all these resources here. And the main thing I really wanted to do was this done for you snapshot, which will include stuff like this already built into it, along with just some other workflows like sales handling, support handling, and things like that. Outbound call and switch. I'll update that. That looks pretty good to me. Perfect. I'll just update that, and I'm going to add a goal. The goal is to book an appointment just in case they go through this workflow. Then I have an amazing script for booking an appointment, which is the one I shared earlier, which I can just pull from another assistant. Here. I'm going to say, ask the user for rangeability, call the function, get available time slots. Check for availability, and then thank them for their time. I think this looks pretty on par. Okay, that's fine. All right, so this is assistant number 1. All done. 1 of 3. All right, so next, I need to buy a phone number. First, let me configure this. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to call this one lead magnet calling. I'm going to say you are Haley from Assistable.ai, calling first name over the phone to continue a conversation over text and to book an appointment. To continue a conversation over text as a sales rep, the job will be to converse qualify and book an appointment. Everything else there is pretty pre-formatted, easy enough. I like my voice temperature at 1.2. I like my speed at 1.85. I like Emily the best. I use Emily on everything. And that looks pretty good to me so far. Now, I'm going to connect to the sales calendar, and then here's the thing when you do these, by the way, since in the chat assistant, all the calendar functions are kind of put under one roof, but because we're going to a more, kind of get a little bit more exciting with these functions, it will not book if you do not have both of these, by the way. You can have get availability and not book appointment, and it's just going to get availability. It won't be able to book. You'll get a looping like, let me retry it, especially if your prompt says to book, and calling a function that doesn't exist. So make sure you add both of these. Transfer calls, just always good to have, just in case they get pissed off. End call is always good because this allows the assistant to end the call themselves. Just always a great thing to have. Now, I'm going to start to get into the flow state here of what I'm going to do is inform the user that you apologize for the delay. Your call ran over. Then ask the user what caught their eye about our platform. Perfect. I'm going to get rid of all this. Just going to save that for a minute. I'm going to go back here, and I'm just going to copy over the same sales cadence from this pre-call one because they're basically doing the same thing in two different channels. I'm going to go here. Copy that. I'm just going to say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next goal to book an appointment with the user. Okay, so task 1, inform the user that you apologize for the delay. Your call ran over. Then ask the user what caught their eye about our platform. Step 2 is going to be to ask the user if they're currently using any AI in their business. And if the user is using AI in their business, ask the user what AI they are using. If the user is not using any AI in their business, ask the user what caught their... Oh, shit, we're redundant there, aren't we? We'll say the user how they heard about us. Then ask them what caught their eye about the product to start their AI journey. Inform the user. Go here. We'll take this out. We'll say, ask the user if we may just even redact it. We don't need a long convo here. I'm going to redact this down one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call them, and then Haley's going to inform them that she apologizes for the delay. Her call ran over, and then she's going to ask them how they heard about us. Step 2 is going to be to ask them how, if they're using any AI in their business now. And if they are, she's going to ask them what they're using. And if they're not, she's going to ask them what caught their eye about our product to start their AI journey. Step 3 is going to be to ask how many sub-accounts they manage. Step 4 is going to ask them if they want voice chat or both. And then we're going to ask them if they'd be open to scheduling some time to take a look at the platform and make a decision then. And then step 6 is just going to move on to the next condition, which will be to book an appointment. We'll say appointment booking as a state. Move to the state when you have finished your task. And then I'm just going to use this one. That's already in here. Again, I've tried to template everything as much as possible. Email. We're going to ask the user for range of availability for not rescheduling an appointment, but for scheduling an appointment. Actually, I'm going to use some verbiage here. Ask user for range of availability in the next few days for you to connect with them. Then we're going to call the function check availability. We're going to run through this cadence of booking an appointment, and then this should be fine. Easy enough. That's assistant number 2 done. Pretty easy stuff. Now, I say pretty easy stuff. Does this make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
I can't wait to duplicate it.
It's a good one. It's a real good one. I'm going to buy another phone number for this one. I'm going to do it in my local area code.
Can we buy more than one number right now?
Yeah, you can buy as many as you want.
Okay.
What about 470? Use this 470 number. I'm going to reference that too in the call. So I'm going to have the assistant say, when it goes to connect the call, say look out for a call from my personal number of 470. So I'm going to say from the user they're off the call now. If they prefer a call function role workflow, then inform the user that you will be giving them a call off of your personal number. So look out for a call from a 470 number. Okay. Customization is key here. And the last one we just need is just the post call. This last one's going to be post call, which will just be just kind of finishing up this environment. So always be Haley. I want this thing to be able to do anything. Behavior, knowledge base. I'm going to have this one take a little bit longer to respond. 125 on character usage. And then context. Lead magnet sales assistant. The purpose is to handle leads that have gone through our AI lead magnet campaign, which includes conversing with a sales rep and receiving a phone call from another AI sales rep. Easy enough. I'll just copy over the rest of the stuff here. Conversation happening. The user has gone through. Perfect. And I'm going to save that. And then we'll say, I really just need one for this one, is post call handling. The task is going to be to ask the user how was the, actually we want to inform the user. Actually, I'm going to frame this as a question. The user entire conversation that they just experienced was completely handled by AI. Ask them, can they believe that? Let's say ask the user to, I'm going to say, if there is indication of an appointment being scheduled in the user's conversation, reinforce that decision and inform the user if they have any questions, just to ask them here. And then we'll say if there is indication of an appointment not being scheduled in the user's conversation, ask the user feedback and we'll say then move to step 2. Actually, that's fine. Here, we've been on long enough. Okay, so I need tags for these now. So I have 3 assistants. I need 2 tags. Get rid of this one. I get rid of this one, and I'm going to say pre-call daily lead magnet. It's going to be pre-call. I'm going to say pre-call lead magnet assistant activate. Add the tag. And then I'm going to save the changes here. And then I'm going to say post call lead magnet activate. It's going to be our post call assistant. I'm going to say post call lead magnet activate. Assistant activate. Perfect. Now let's give these automations some life. We have our activation workflow here. I'm going to go ahead and allow reentry, just so I don't forget. Attribution reporting, we're going to activate the pre-call assistant here. And then just for testing purposes, I'm going to take out these synthetic weights or put them to 0. So we don't have to wait to test it. 0.1 is fine. 0.1 down here. And we're activating our pre-call assistant here. Everything else is kind of built out there. That looks fine to me. And then we'll go here to the outbound call switch. This one's fine. And then we'll deactivate our pre-call assistant. And that should be fine there. And then we'll activate our post-call. Allow reentry. One second. Okay. So inbound webhook, activate post-call assistant here. much set everything up there in the beginning, so that should be fine. Now all there really is to do is test it. Okay. I won't even be able to find mine. Hold on. Okay, that's fine. Now I'm going to enroll myself in. My little activation workflow. Actually, that looks about right. And so theoretically, that would be triggered by a lead form being filled out. And so now we have the messages coming in here. So they would fill out the lead form. There would be a 5-minute wait, and then the idea is to make it seem like we forgot to do our job, which was filling out a form there. Okay, so I have a duplicate contact. That's okay. All right, so what's going on? I'm about to get off this call. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about your stuff? And let's see. I have my tag on there. Perfect. Let me take my personal tag off there for my other one. And that should be fine. Let's go back here and test. Perfect. Okay. So I'm about to get off this call. Why don't you tell me a little bit more? I got you after, let's say, a roofing company. I'm a roofing agency. Doing maybe $1 million or something like that. I don't know. Looking to scale sales. Send that. Boom. Let's make sure that we have the pre-call assistant on. Perfect. And then just for this test, I'm going to take my weights down just so I can test faster. Is this helpful?
Yes, absolutely.
And you can see, because I get a lot of stuff. Like my verbiage is not good, my stuff is not good. It's all in the prompt. A simple prompt. You see the verbiage is just clean. It's super simple. It's casual. This is not like regular AI. I do a lot of the prompt engineering for you on the back end. You just have to tell it what to do. Give it a 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's say, are you currently using any AI in your business? Would I have the conditionals for yes? So I'll say yes.
Question. Is that possible for to tell the AI to send pictures or videos?
Yeah. Technically it is now with the new one, and we'll also have something for that too. And there's a roundabout way to do it now, where we could just enroll it in a workflow that would send the picture. If you have a stagnant picture, if you need a dynamic picture, then we can probably do something like that.
Yeah, I've been sending the pictures and the video in the workflows.
Yeah, I wonder if that one thing that you use has like a thing that we can connect to it. I don't know. Maybe if not, we can try to see if there's something like it that we can connect to. Because if we can connect to it, then we can send it and do it. It may be easy.
Awesome.
The question is just finding that. But you see, the verbiage super clean, super easy. I'm telling you, this prompting guide. That's all you got to do. You don't have to go crazy. There are situation handling things, but like, as long as you kind of follow the procedure of task-based stuff, you see the AI output doesn't seem like AI. So that was my conditional. So if they used AI, I was going to ask them what they're using. We'll say go high levels, built-in AI. Send that over. And see, now we got it. See this? So good. Got it. I'm off the call now, so we can do the chat here. I can give you a call. What's your preference? Let's say just give me a call. I don't remember if I took the weight off of that one enroll in workflow action. We may have to wait 5 minutes. It's enrolling me into the workflow to call me. Perfect. And it should give some verbiage about what number it's going to call from now. There you go. Now, if we go to this workflow, I hopefully should be in it. Oh, here's my call. Never mind. I'm getting a call from somebody else. Call from somebody else, or is this my other one? Oh, you know what? I never put an assistant in here. That would probably be helpful, huh?
Just a little bit.
See, even the AI just does. Even I'm the one who messes up. Let's go here. Let's take this ID. Let's copy it over. And since I messed up here, I'm just gonna manually enroll myself back into it. Pick up where the conversation left off. So we're good up until this point, and then we just have a little bit of user error. Let's put myself in outbound call and switch. Now, I should be getting a call from a 470 number. Hello?
Hi, Jordan. Sorry for the delay. My previous call ran over. By the way, how did you hear about us?
I was on YouTube looking for some AI because we use high level. So we use the conversational AI, and we just need something a little bit more dynamic.
That's great to hear. You're already using conversational AI. What specific AI are you using in your business right now?
It's just chatbots. That's all.
Got it. Just chatbots. How many sub accounts do you manage?
Right now, just 15.
Thanks for sharing that. Are you looking to implement just voice chat or both for these accounts?
We'll probably start with chat, but I mean both are pretty interesting. So let's just go ahead and say both.
Yeah. Both sounds like a good plan. Would you be open to scheduling some time to take a closer look at our platform and make a decision then?
Yeah, I kind of want to take a look. So let's do it.
One second while I check our calendar. Great. We have several slots available. How does next Monday at 11:15 a.m. or 1:15 p.m. sound for you?
Do you have anything later in the day?
Sure. How about next Monday at 3:45 p.m. or 4:15 p.m.? Does either of those times work for you?
Let's do 4:15.
Great. I'll set up your appointment for next Monday at 4:15 p.m. One second while I there anything else I can assist you with today?
Nope, that's all good.
Your appointment is all set for next Monday at 4:15 p.m. Looking forward to showing you what our platform can do. Is there anything else I can assist
Nope, thank you.
today?
All right, so now the call is ended. Now we have our post-call webhook that should happen, which should activate this third assistant to come in here and kind of really finish me off and take it home. So let's make sure that we got a post-call webhook here, and we're going down the right track. Easy enough. And I may have put in contact twice. Wait, I put a 5-minute wait in there. Let me just go ahead and pass myself through a 5-minute wait. Now I should be getting some text messages that should hopefully have picked up that I booked an appointment. Perfect. There we go. How was it? Saw you booked an appointment. Not bad, huh? Okay. Not bad. Very cool. We'll get one last response from this one, and then I think we're done. And then we'll hop off because it's been it's been 3 hours, huh?
Best 3 hours ever.
Yeah. She took the words right out of my mouth.
I hope it's helpful. I hope it's helpful in some way.
Yeah, great stuff, Jordan. Great stuff.
I appreciate it.
You just cleared up a lot of things.
I hope so. Like I said, I'd like to do this once a week. Probably not this long, but at least now you got to see all three in action and how to activate them. And so we got a reply here. Glad you liked it. If you have any questions or need anything, let me know. That finishes off our 3 assistant lead magnet flow, where we have one coming in, starting the conversation, and rolling us into a workflow to have it call us. The call booked an appointment, and then this will come up to follow up after, just to make sure anything's good, and then to answer questions if need be. So there you go. There's your AI-powered lead magnet. I'll send out resources later. I hope that's helpful. Let's do this again next Friday, and I'm going to talk to everyone. You will get these resources in the next few hours or so.
Thank you so much, Jordan.
All right. I'm going to post a video on YouTube.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Have a good one.
See y'all.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.